39. Psalm chapter 39. Psalm chapter 39. And after this psalm, we will step away from the Psalms. And we have a short study we'll look at. And then we'll go to the book of Luke. And then we'll be coming back to the Psalms after that. That's the plan. Psalm chapter 39 is where we'll be. All right. Psalm chapter 39. And this is, I think, a very odd psalm. The way it starts out and then the way it goes. Took me several readings of going through it. And the first time I read it, I thought, oh, I get it. I know what's happening here. And then going over it again and again, and then it hit me like, man, the way this thing starts, I didn't expect it to turn the way that it turns. So we'll start in Psalm chapter 39. This is a psalm of David. Some of your Bibles, we even say that it's to the chief musician, and it will name that musician. So some theologians have said this is probably when David wrote it, he gave, if not obviously the words, maybe even the tune, or gave the words to the chief musician to put it to music and to make sure that this was the musician in charge at time that would bring it before the people. All right, but it says here in Psalm chapter 39, verse 1, I said, I will take heed to my ways. And the word heed here is I will guard, right? I will attend to. I will pay attention to what I'm doing, what I'm saying, what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, right? And this is the advice we've been given ever since we were children, right? Pay attention, right? Pay attention to yourself and where you are and what you're doing, and then, of course, pay attention to others. David says, I will guard my ways that I sin not with my tongue. So I'm going to pay attention to what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking, so that I don't say something I ought not to say. And on the other side of the colon there, he says the same thing twice now. He just says it differently. I will keep my mouth with a bridle while the wicked is before me, right? So he has this idea of that which we would put in the horse's mouth. And of course, those of you who are familiar with the book of James will talk about the power of the tongue. It is like a fire, and we have to control the tongue. And David here is saying, I'm going to put a bridle on my mouth, on my tongue, to keep it under control. And then we see how much more difficult that is, because he is in the presence of the wicked. And of course, no one's certain, is he talking about a specific time where he's in the presence of a very specific wicked person? Or, like some of the other Psalms will attest, is he just paying attention to what the wicked are doing all around him? And it doesn't take very much paying attention to suddenly think or feel or notice the good guys are outnumbered. Right? There's a lot more wicked than there are of the good. But of course, all throughout David's life, he's going to be attacked by the wicked. Right? There will be people constantly coming after him, attacking his character, attacking his throne. And it is also important to remember that even if there's not a wicked person in our presence necessarily, we are always surrounded by wicked spiritual forces. Right? There are those fallen ones, there are those principalities of the power of the air that move about on this earth, and they come after whomever God allows them to come and wreak havoc on. So David is saying, at the time that the wicked is all around, whether they're attacking me personally, and it is possible that that is what's happening when we get to the end of the chapter here, there's this presence of wickedness that is everywhere. And even in spite of that, David says, I'm going to be very careful with how I behave here. Specifically, I'm going to watch what I say. Next verse. So I was dumb with silence. I held my peace even from good, and my sorrow was stirred. So I stayed quiet. I even didn't say that which was good. I held my peace, right? I didn't make any agreements with what's going on. I didn't make any treaties with what's going on, but I also didn't make any open disagreements. But while this was happening, his sorrow starts to stir within him. Verse 3, he compounds the problem. My heart was hot within me. While I was musing, the fire burned. And the word musing here is the Hebrew word murmur. And of course, we have in the other passages in the Old Testament, the Jews in the wilderness were punished for their murmuring. But the word murmur can also have a positive connotation, that which is connected to the right meditation, pondering. Mary in the book of Luke, there's 2 sections where it says she took these things and she pondered them in her heart. She paid attention to them. She thought about them. There's the idea of studying. There's the idea of growling, right? You're just on this thing. You're locked in, and it's consuming your thoughts and what all that's happening. That has effects on our feelings and of course on our spirit. So I'm surrounded by the wicked. I'm going to make sure I'm very careful with how I'm behaving. I'm going to be careful with what I say, and even in my silence, it's having this, man, I'm just getting stirred up within me. There's this fire that's happening. And then he speaks. So it begs the question, what is David going to say? Verse 4, this is where first time reading through, it's like, okay, that's great. But then why would this be what he says? Verse 4, Jehovah, make me know mine end and the measure of my days, what it is, that I may know how frail I am. So when surrounded by the evil, right? Whether it's an attack on him or there's some evil transpiring in Israel or just recognizing the wickedness that's in the world, David is quiet about that, right? And it's usually natural, it's human nature to, when there's something we don't like, that's when we're really vocal. But he takes time to be quiet about it, but you can only be quiet for so long. But then when he speaks out, it's not, Lord, I want you to destroy these wicked ones. It's, help me realize that I'm going to die soon. The word frailty has the idea of being the fact that our life is going to be brought to a close. It also has the idea of being rejected by people. Of course, when we pass away, people can mourn our passing. They can talk about us, but they still have to get up, pay the bills, feed themselves, and go on. So there is not necessarily a rejection, but there is this moving on past us that they have to do. But there's also, part of human frailty is sometimes people want nothing to do with us. And of course, David's life is a great example of this, of someone who's trying to do what's right for the most part, and there will be people who want to cast him off. But of course, David, because he is human, is not perfect. And we'll see that here in a minute, as the chapter will attest. So David says, Lord, help me understand that my life is going to come to an end. Verse 5. Behold, thou, Jehovah, hast made my days as a handbreadth, right? A handbreadth is this measurement right here. It's the palm of the hand. Some people will even say it's less than that. It's about a half an inch. It's the term for almost the smallest measurement of space available. So David is saying, you've given my life a hand's breadth. Mine age is as nothing before thee. And of course, what are we who age compared to the one who is ageless? Right? The God who is eternal. Verily, every man at his best state is altogether smoke, vapor, a mist, vanity, right? Here for a moment and then gone. And of course, David follows it up with the word Selah. This is a time, some people would say it's a time to stop and just think about that. That's a good thing to think about, right? And then others will say when it comes to the Psalms, it might also be a time, too, that the chief musician would put in an instrumental interlude. Let's just let the music play here now, again, while we're probably meditating on the idea. So surrounded by wickedness, David's response is, help me understand that I am frail. If he is frail and is going to come to an end, that also means that the evil humans, they're coming to an end as well. And anything that contests Jehovah is going to be brought to an end. Verse 6, surely every man walketh in a vain show. Surely they are disquieted in vain. He heapeth up riches and knoweth not who shall gather them. The word vain here, he says, surely man walketh in a vain show. It has the idea that we are just an image of the real thing. We are an illusion. This is also the word used for idols. Towards the end of the famous play Macbeth, a man who is not a righteous man, he is a wicked man. He has chosen the path of wickedness, and he is corrupted towards that. He gets some really bad news. He gets one piece of bad information, another piece of bad information, and then he gets probably the biggest piece of bad information. And he responds with a famous short monologue where he basically says, life is meaningless. He says, humans are just actors on a stage walking around, fretting. They're quoting their lines. They are full of sound and fury, signifying nothing, right? Our lives are tomorrow, and tomorrow creeps towards us in this petty pace, lighting our ways to dusty death. Humans are just a bunch of idiots telling our human stories, and then we go off to our death. That's Macbeth's response when he realizes, oh, this is all probably going to come to an end in a way I didn't want. That's what we call nihilism, right? Life is meaningless. David here understands his frailty, and he has a completely different response. This idea, too, that life is just an image, we all have to figure out what is true, or what's real. In one of the most famous works from the ancient world, and still famous today, it's one of the key texts when studying and trying to figure out things like political philosophy, how do you set up a government. Our founding fathers read this text and were very familiar with this text. It's called Plato's Republic. And in that text, there's a very famous short story in which Socrates says, here's what it means to be an educated human being. We all start out in darkness in a cave, and in this cave, there's behind us a fire, and there are people who hold up little idols in front of the fire, and their shadows get cast from the fire onto the wall in front of us. It's like an ancient movie theater, right? We sit in darkness, the images are cast on the wall in front of us. And while we sit in darkness and look at these shadows, we think that's what's real. And the puppet masters behind us will tell us, this is a tree, this is a lion, and they'll make the sounds for us, and that's what we think is real. And then human education and proper education is when we're shackled in this cave, when those chains are taken off, and someone comes down and tells us, these are shadows, these are not the real thing. And then they help drag us out of the cave up into the light where we can see an actual tree, the actual sun, an actual human being, and we can actually see ourselves. And Socrates will make the argument that the truly educated person, the truly enlightened person, is one who can see reality for what it is. And a very real part of reality is we are dying. We are going to die. And one of the great lies put on us, especially it's been going on for a long time, is that we can gain eternal life, immortality, aside from Jehovah. We can gain it through the legendary Fountain of Youth, or in Rapunzel, right? In Tangled, the Disney remake, we can gain it because of her magical hair, right? The idea that we can live forever. There is a man right now, a very wealthy individual, who is devoting all of his finances to make sure that he lives forever. And not with his mind uploaded into a computer, right, which is one way of going about it. But no, he literally wants to live forever. And he has his life so regimented, so treated like a machine. That's his plan. And while that might be one extreme, just think of the number of commercials that are given out to us. We can live forever. It is often a great lie told to us, especially in our youth, that this is all that there is. Live for the now. Because you will be young forever. And of course, we know we're not young forever. And if you're young, if you're not young, then what are you? Right? Something that gets in the way, something that's slow, something that's not as funny or doesn't know how to dress with all the trends. You can be cast aside. And these are some great, terrible lies that are especially going on more in the modern culture. And David says, man, God, help me know that my days are coming to the end. And it is possible that when he's writing this psalm, it is possible that this is a psalm he wrote towards the end of his life. And David is a fascinating study because when we first meet him, he's young. He's got his whole life ahead of him. He's killing lions and bears. He kills Goliath. He's got women attracted to him. He is like an ancient Hebrew rock star, right? But as you study the Kings and the Chronicles, he ends up an old man in a bed, dying, unable really to fight off those who would attack his son Solomon, who should become king. It will have to be for the help of his wife Bathsheba and the prophet Nathan to come in and communicate with David to make sure Solomon gets put on the throne. So watch what David says. So we live in this type of idolatry of self, this idolatry of this material world, that's what we want to pursue. And he gives a very specific example. We put riches together, but we really don't know where they're going to go. Solomon will repeat this throughout Ecclesiastes, right? And there's this phrase, they are disquieted in vanity, right? The idea that when we pursue that which is not eternal, there is a lack of peace within our soul. But if we don't take that lack of peace to the eternal one, then even our discomfort is in vain. I want you to step back to Psalm chapter 38. Psalm chapter 38 is David praying for God's mercy on his life, and David uses language as if he is sick with leprosy. And again, another reason it's great to study the Psalms and to look closely at the Bible for what it says is David has Psalms about there are wicked people out there attacking me. God, help me. I've been righteous and I've obeyed you. But then David is very open with, God, forgive me for my sins. But if we look down at Psalm chapter 38, this idea of disquietedness, look at verse 8. I am feeble and sore broken. I have roared by reason of the disquietness of my heart. My heart is unsettled. My soul is unsettled. Mostly probably because of the sin that he has committed. And if not the sin he's committed, he is dealing with some sort of illness. He's dealing with troubles in his life. And out of that, he is roaring, but there is a reason out of it, and he's taking it to Jehovah. So then we come back to Psalm chapter 39, that word disquieted, it's the same word that's being used. And all of us have something in common, right? Our frailty, the fact that we're going to die. We also have this other thing in common where another attribute, another facet of our frailty is we make mistakes. We have to apologize. We have to ask forgiveness. We have to seek forgiveness for our sins, but then almost on a daily basis, we have to seek forgiveness with our fellow man for transgressions that we've committed against them. And David is willing to do that. It's one of the key distinctions between him and Saul. Saul makes excuses and gaslights other people. David makes no excuses. He accepts the punishment and he seeks forgiveness. Verse 7. So in spite of help me understand my frailty, that I'm going to die. Help me understand that part of my frailty is my sin nature, and I will transgress. Verse 7, and now, Lord, what wait I for? My hope is in thee. My hope is that the Lord will forgive me. My hope is that the Lord will save my soul, but also will be glorifying our body one day. And David's going to drive this idea here towards the end of the chapter. But there's the other turn in the chapter, right? It goes from the wicked are around me, help me know my own frailty, that I can be just as susceptible to pursuing idolatry, the idolatry of self, pursuing these other things aside from God. And if I know that my life is going to be passing away, I can't fight all the battles. Someone else has got to step up and fight them. What is my hope? My hope is in the Lord. Verse 8, deliver me from all my transgressions, from all my sins. It is unfortunate that the wicked are always looking for an opportunity to come after the righteous. And because the righteous are still human at the end of the day, the righteous, we still sin. We still give the wicked opportunities to take valid shots at us. And that's the worst, because they don't understand, they don't really care. But it is possible here, and I would say highly likely, that David has committed some sort of sin, some transgression. He's made some sort of bad decision, and he is being justifiably criticized for it. But again, there's a difference between justifiably criticized by someone who is also good and interested in what's right. Then there's a difference between someone who is wicked and coming after us, because all they want to do is destroy. So David says, my hope is in the Lord. Verse 8, deliver me from my sins. Make me not the reproach of the foolish. And what is the foolish? Those who say there is no God. And those who say there is no God, or those who really live like there's no God, they're usually the first ones to quit. Well, I thought you were a Christian. I thought this was a Christian school, right? Your criticism is a waste of time. At any rate, verse 9, I was dumb. I opened not my mouth. Why? Because thou didst it. Jehovah helped David be quiet, but David also understands the judgment I'm receiving right now, the Lord has allowed it to come because of my sin. And it's another admirable quality of David. I sin, I own it, I apologize. I don't make excuses. I seek forgiveness of others. I seek the forgiveness of Jehovah. And now we try to move on with that. Verse 10. And here's just more evidence. I think God has been judging David, and part of that judgment is allowing the wicked to come at him. Verse 10, remove thy stroke away from me. I am consumed by the blow of thine hand. So David's life, here's that repetition of the hand imagery. My life is just a hand's breadth, right? It is nothing compared to the eternal one. And yet the very hand of God that's involved in sustaining of everything, when God brings that hand down on even his own children, it is too much for us to bear. Please, God, take your hand away from me, right? Your judgment is too strong. Verse 11, I love this verse. When thou with rebukes dost correct man for iniquity, thou makest his beauty to consume away like a moth. Surely every man is vanity. Selah. And here is one of the great moments of equality. Every human being must stand before the judgment of God. And God judges and works on us in this life. Are we open and listening and willing to receive that judgment? But even at the end of this life, we will all have to stand before Jehovah. That day is coming. Verse 12. Hear my prayer, O Lord, and give ear unto my cry. Hold not thy peace at my tears, for I am a stranger with thee, and a sojourner, as all my fathers were. David knows he is just passing through this world. He is to be in the world and not of it. And here we have testimony of someone who is a righteous man, and yet the righteous do still sin. And so David, when he cries out, is asking God, please help me. Don't go quiet on me now, right? I'm pouring my tears out to you, but because I am with you, because I am one of your children, because I am one of your followers, because I am like you, a stranger in this world, please have mercy on me. Verse 13, O spare me, that I may recover strength before I go hence and be no more. So he's not asking to live forever. He's asking for a recovery, so it's possible, too, that the judgment that's been brought upon him has some physical touch on his life. And, of course, that is not to say that anytime we get sick or have problems in our life, it's because we've sinned, right? Job is a classic example of this. Christ is the best example of this. But it is also true to understand that even the righteous human, at our best, we are still mortal and we will still sin. So where do we take our mortality? We take it to the eternal one and we put our hope there. Where do we take our sin? We don't excuse it. We don't cover it up. We don't relabel it. We don't call it personality. We don't call it whatever it is. We take it to God and beg God's forgiveness if necessary. Ask forgiveness for the fellow men and put the trust there. And of course also know that in a broken and contrite spirit, God will forgive those who come to him for the salvation of the soul and then for the sanctification of the human being. And so again, David is saying, please revive me now before I die so that I can continue in the strength that I have left, right? Help me to go out not like this. So let's go back through at the beginning of the psalm. We'll read it and then we'll wrap up. Verse 39, I said, I will take heed to my ways that I sin not with my tongue. I guess today it would be, I will sin not with my thumbs, right? Or for some of us, it's the finger. And now we can speak text. But anyways, I said, I will take heed to my ways that I sin not with my tongue. I will keep my mouth with a bridle while the wicked is before me. I was dumb with silence. I held my peace even from good, and my sorrow was stirred. My heart was hot within me. While I was musing, the fire burned. Then I spake with thy tongue. You can only be quiet for so long, right? Lord, make me to know mine end and the measure of my days, what it is, that I may know how frail I am. If we know how frail we are, we better understand how perfect God is. Behold, thou hast made my days as a handbreadth, and mine age is nothing before thee. Verily, every man in his best state is altogether vanity. Selah. Surely every man walketh in a vain show. Surely they are disquieted in vain. He heapeth up riches and knoweth not who shall gather them. Riches are a classic example of, do you want security? Riches is a great example of security, and yet all of us know they're really not. They can't buy the salvation of our soul. Verse 7, and now, Lord, what wait I for? My hope is in thee. Deliver me from all my transgressions. Make me not the reproach of the foolish. I was dumb, I opened not my mouth, because thou didst it. Remove thy stroke away from me. I am consumed by the blow of thine hand. When thou with rebukes dost correct man for iniquity, thou makest his beauty to consume away like a moth. Surely every man is vanity. Selah. Hear my prayer, O Lord, and give ear unto my cry. Hold not thy peace at my tears, for I am a stranger with thee and a sojourner as all my fathers were. O spare me, that I may recover strength, before I go hence and be no more. So that is not the last psalm in the first book. The last psalm is Psalm 41, but we're going to take a break from this. The plan is to come do a study on the feasts of the Jews and tie this into the birthing story. And then after that, the plan is to go into the book of Luke and do a study of Luke and then come back and look at book 2 in the Psalms. That's the plan. If that changes, I'll let you know. Thank you.